He say, she say, we say, I say, hearing out them points of views when I see it my way. Yes it goes, yes it knows, maybe so's, probably not, shoulds and coulds, do's and don'ts, your wills and won'ts is how you rock. Politicians and religions, on your house or are you renting? Is you married, is you single, meta interest when you mingle, turn out to be someone you into, so how long before the bed get wrinkled? Children when they tripping, is it time out or do you whip them? Opinions and decisions, hunches, intuitions, may or may not get it, cause people's experience different. Check the prejudice at the door. Speak the mind, you give the flow. Tell the truth if it's sweet or sour, cause the hour we spitting that fire.
Hello everyone, this is Spittinfire coming to you with another one. Please make sure you are over the age of 18 when you listen to my videos. Do not allow anyone under the age of 18 to listen to the videos or even visit the channel. And please make sure you read the disclaimer in the description below. Okay, so we're going to be talking more about part 6 of the breakdown, okay? And in this breakdown, you will have to definitely watch 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 to understand what's going on in chronological order, okay? Because it's important for you to know as I dissect and get into the in-depths of things, okay? So we did a lot of the introduction and everything else when it comes up to this. We did a lot about who knew who. We did a lot about the connections of the channels and the media, and we did a lot about why the setup was and who really was behind it, and it was the political agenda and everything else. And we did that in the first 3 chapters, okay? And then we started getting into the meat and potatoes in chapter 4, 5, and now we're in 6, and we get into the really heavy stuff right now. And some of this heavy stuff is like who knew who and all this and that, but it's really entailed because we're going to go back to more of the connections at the end of the segment. But right now, I needed you to understand the connections as we go forward, as we try to tie George Soros into this. Okay, so let's get it started, shall we? Okay, so I want to retract the story, okay? In part 5 of the breakdown, okay, I was in the middle of editing and forgot where I left off, apparently. However, I said that Jim Derogatis worked for Chicago Tribune. In fact, he did not work for the Chicago Tribune. He was a critic in the Chicago Sun-Times. But his wife, Carmel Carrillo, worked for the Chicago Tribune, okay? And I meant to connect that because he still had a connection with the Chicago Tribune because of that affiliation that his wife had, okay? And you see a lot of the stories in the Chicago Tribune is really speaking against R. Kelly in the cases into which they are only being one-sided, and he's a Chicagoan, okay? So we found that to be very interesting in part 5 of the breakdown. So I wanted to make sure I did that retraction, okay? So as again, his wife, Carmel Carrillo, worked for the Chicago Tribune, which George Soros, if you've seen in my community post, has stock in the Tribune media, okay? So I wanted everyone to understand that because before I even did these breakdowns, I said that they sent a memo out. And many bloggers was like, nah, that's not true. They didn't send no memo out. Well, I'm telling you that they did. And you have a lot of people out here telling you about Sony and about Jive and about all these people that was in R. Kelly life way back then, and they still set them up 20 and 30 years from now. And some of them are not even prominent in the music industry anymore. So I am the first one and the only one on these YouTube streets had told you that this setup here with R. Kelly as of today had nothing to do with that. It has everything to do with the women liberation movement, the Democratic Party, and this was strictly a political agenda, okay, to bring the black heterosexual man down. I said that in 2018, I said that in 2019, and I said it in 2020 and continue to say it in 2021. Now, you have other people out there who have their own beliefs, and Spittinfire cannot sit up there and tell you that their beliefs are wrong, but they are fed that story. Me personally over here, I research and investigate my story, okay? We at Spittinfire investigate our things and we research our things, and I show you in our research during my commentary on my channel in my videos, okay? So I'm not telling you a story about anybody else. I'm not telling you a story about these alleged accusers. I'm not telling you a story about some of his old managers and who discovered him and Barry Hankerson and all that. I'm telling you what the real deal is. And nobody is feeding this information to me. This was all investigated by Spittin Fire, okay? I don't receive no news from somebody else to come and put a story together to give to you. I give you the real deal here, okay? And I often sit up there and tell you things that have came true, all right? I connected the people. I connected who knew who. I connected everything together, okay? And I'm also connecting how George Soros is behind it in these movements. I told you these movements were all behind this. And I'm now connecting you. So I'm going to need you to understand some things. Okay? So let's get to it. Okay. So continuing on to Black Lives Matter. And I told you about George Soros donating to them. And Reuter Fact Check said, oh, that's a lie, that he's not behind them. Well, I think that's a lie. Okay. I don't give a damn what they say. In my opinion, I think that's a lie. My research says something totally different. I am not a surface level thinker. You can't tell me what you want me to know, because I'm going to tell you what makes sense and logic, and I often do that. Okay. Now, they say that George Soros is not behind Black Lives Matter. Now, his money and what he gives to people, okay? Now, he owns the Open Society Foundation that gives to charities and to organizations, liberal organizations. And he often does that. And his main one is the LGBT. And remember, I told you guys that the LGBT was behind all these movements and things, right? Well, here, another reason and another way I'm going to tell you, I'm going to explain to you. Now, I just talked to you about Emily's list, okay? In part 4, I talked to you about Emily's list, and I pointed out some things. Now, in Black Lives Matter, I'm going to point out some things, okay? And I want y'all to understand some things. But he has donated a significant amount of money to Black Lives Matter. But is Black Lives Matter really for Black lives? I mean, let's see what their agenda really is for. Let's take a look at the website. Let's take a look. Okay, so what I'm about to read to you right now is from the Black Lives Matter website. And we have the owners of that website. We have Opal Tomati, we have Patrice Kohlers, and we have Alicia Garzar. I'm hoping I'm saying the ladies' names correctly. However, these are the women who founded the Black Lives Matter. And what prompted them to find this movement was the Trayvon Martin killing by George Zimmerman. Okay? And that's when this first came out. But let's read this part of it, because I often told you guys that these movements have these personal private agendas, okay? And I said that in 19 and I said that in 20, and I know I even always go back and tell you what I said in this particular years, but I did. You know what I mean? And for those of you who followed me for the last 2-3 years, you remember me saying these things. For those of you who are new, now you know I've said it prior to me giving you information now. And I'm going to read this paragraph right here. This is the third paragraph under the Her Stories tab on the Black Lives Matters website. And I'm going to read it, and then I'm going to take a few seconds to let you read it, and then we're going to get back into more of the commentary, okay? And what I often say, because I have to reiterate things as time go on, because there are new people that comes on to my channel and subscribe, and they need to play catch up and understand some things, especially when it comes to this R. Kelly situation. Now, I know a lot of you thinking, what all this have to do with R. Kelly? Well, I told you that a lot of this is a political takedown. A lot of people think it's about Sony, Jive Records, Barry Hankerson, and all these other people from way back in the day. But I'm here to tell you that Spittinfire has researched her own things, okay? I researched, investigated my own stuff. Nobody gives me information here. Nobody tells me what to say. I don't talk behind the scenes to nobody and they give me this and I give them that. No things of that nature. So I'm here to tell you that in my investigation and what I have said prior and me formally investigating it, I can actually solidify and come with receipts about the things that I have told you guys on my channel. Okay, so I'm going to read this paragraph right here and we're going to talk a little bit more about it. So let's get going. It says, as organizers who work with everyday people, BLM, Black Lives Matter, members see and understand significant gaps in movements, spaces, and leadership. Black liberations movement in this country have created room, space, and leadership mostly for Black heterosexual cisgender men, leaving women, queer, and transgender people and other either out of the movement or in the background to move the work forward with little or no recognition. As a network, we have always recognized the need to center the leadership of women and queer and trans people. To maximize our movement muscle and to be international about not replicating harmful practices that exclude so many in the past movements for liberation, we made a commitment to placing those in the margin closer to the center. Now, I want you to read that again. Okay? And so, when I did part 3, and I told you guys about the LGBT, I had to actually come out and defend myself because someone thought that I was doing a hate speech when I was actually telling you the truth. I said in 19 and 20 that the LGBT movements and agendas were behind all of this. And people thought that it was me not accepting things. No, I'm telling you that some of these people, liberation movements, are not what they say they are for Black people. Even the Black people. And I've often told you in my commentary some things that I'm going to explain after you read it. So take a few seconds, and then we're going to get back into it. Okay, now let's get back into commentary momentarily. Okay, so let me get into full commentary about this. And I am so serious about this because it's interesting how this man, R. Kelly, has been taken down by all these political agendas. And one of the reasons why I showed you guys about Emily's List, and I pointed out in the breakdown 4 about Emily's List, and then I pointed out the section where it includes the LGBT. And I pointed out Black Lives Matter, and I highlighted the section where it includes the LGBT. And I told you that George Soros was a very, very big supporter of the LGBT. And he backs the Democratic Party, which is now a very strong party for the LGBT. Biden recently tried to sanction Africa because of their homosexual laws that they have over there, because of what they believe. Barack Obama, before he left office, tried to integrate women and trans women in the same bathroom without heterosexual people say. It was all to cater the LGBT. When it's your right as a heterosexual person. This is not a hate speech. It's a speech of me being a heterosexual woman, and if I wanted to use the bathroom with women like me that has been this way for many years, now you're saying that I must share it with someone who identify with me as a woman. Not that they are a born woman, but they identify as one. And giving them their own bathroom is not good enough because that's separating them. Without regard of my safety or me or my personal feelings about it. And when I say my, I don't mean me as a personal individual. I mean people that is born woman. And I often pointed out with these facts about Black Lives Matter. And I'm not trying to be disrespectful to the women because I believe that the intent probably had a good idea, but I still can't believe that it's not an agenda for the LGBT. Considering Emily's list that I showed you in breakdown 4, LBGT, this LGBT, it's supposed to be Black Lives Matter. It's not supposed to have nothing about sexuality. It's about the struggles in which Black people have when it comes to being unfair with the law and the justice system. But yet the LGBT found a way in it. We from the LGBT. What? Wait a minute. I haven't never heard that the LGBT had problems with the police or being shot down unarmed by the police. It's normally heterosexual Black men. And they had something against the heterosexual Black men in that statement that I just read you that's under her story. If it's Black Lives Matter and it's her story, but it's supposed to be about it started about a Black man being shot down and there was no justice for Trayvon Martin, then how is it her story as opposed to his story? But then we have Fox News. Well, the Blockbender did a segment a few months back about Fox News when they had Ice Cube on there. And they often said some things. But if you don't believe me, let's take a look.
And when you mention Black people, you mentioning Black women, so don't count yourself out. Yes,
Oops, did you hear that? You see where the contradiction came in at? Let's slide it back just a tad bit. And listen to him,
situation.
So let me. I gotta ask this question. Because you're on this show with the cocktails with the queens, and there's a reason for that. It wasn't to have you defend or not defend Donald Trump. It was about. I care about what's in this contract with Black America for women, and it's not. We're not mentioned at all.
When did you hear what she just said? I care about this contract with Black America and Black women. Listen.
In the contract with Black America, and
you are mentioned. I mean, when you mention Black people, you mentioning Black women, so don't count yourself out.
No, that's not true.
Now, you see this? This is where things went south for me. You got to see what's happening here. If we are all one, the Black family has already been destroyed. It has already been destroyed. Now we're going to sit here and literally now separate. Now we're separating. And I pointed out to you that 4 times they gave him props. But I watched, and we all saw it, but we probably just didn't pay attention clearly. But Claudia Joy interrupted as she's reading her notes, but she didn't proofread her notes and compare them to the things that she was saying throughout the interview. Because clearly there were contradictions. So now you have the three top hosts up there, Claudia, Vivica, and Selena, all on the same page, worrying about putting separate clauses in there about black women. But not once do you hear these black women say, well, we need to put something in there about black men. They say nothing about, we need to put clauses in there about black children. They're not saying that. They're singling themselves out as black women. But there's one woman that is remaining solid. And that woman is right next to Cube. Right next to Cube. And Lisa Ray, she ain't feeding into that nonsense. She looking at these three coons up here make black women look very greedy. These are the types that you have to watch out for. These are the ones that will have your ass arrested on false allegations. These are the ones that will take you for every dime. But this one, around the way girl right here, solid. She ain't lose her way. Look at what's happening here.
Like administration said that when they
black people is not black
minorities,
women.
black
Black women are not included in black people.
No,
Come on,
it's
ladies.
but that's like, you know, that's like you saying, that's like.
Now you hear Lisa. He asked the question. So, is black women not black people? The three up here saying, no, no. But this one here, she's saying, yes. They're saying no. She's saying yes.
Okay, so you guys, that clip was from the Blockbender TV experience. His link will be in the description below. You can see the whole entire video on his channel of this. Okay, now that was just the clipping that I showed you of the Blockbenders or whatever. That clipping does not belong to Spittin' Fire. That belongs to the Blockbender TV experience, where you can go over there and listen to DJ Knock and his full commentary. Okay, so as I mentioned, it will be in the description below, or I will pin it to the first link in the thread, so you can go and check that out. Okay, but one of the things that I pointed out, and the reason for that clipping, is because of the simple fact is I've often even spoke about Black Lives Matter and how they separated themselves, how black women separated themselves from that. You will hear sayings like Black Girls Matter or Black Women Matter or whatever, but Black Lives Matter is supposed to be included in all of that. You understand what I'm saying? We black people. You know, how you going to separate yourself? We supposed to be black people. So you mean to tell me if I have a brother, he Black Lives Matter, but I'm a woman, so I supposed to be Black Women Matter, and then Black Girls Matter. So why are the women separating themselves from their men? And that's the separation of the culture. And I often talked about cultural obligation because we got to have that. And so as you seen in Black Lives Matter website under her story, now that's a contradiction in itself. If black women is really separating themselves from Black Lives Matter, why is it Black Lives Matter talking about something they found it on Trayvon Martin, but under the tab it says her story? Why is it her story when we talk about black men who's been killed by either law enforcement or security or some type of policing agency unarmed? And it's systemic racism with our justice system. So why is it we talk about her story? And what part does the LGBT play in that? And why is it about women? Because in that clause it says about women, about the heterosexual black men and cisgender and all these things, and and the black women are connected themselves with the LGBTQ. Okay, such as Emily's List did the same thing, such as Black Lives Matter. But I thought this website was about the Ferguson riot, what happened with another unarmed man who was shot and killed, about Trayvon Martin who was shot and killed. What happened to it being about these young men in our society and communities who are being killed unarmed, okay, by these agencies, whether it's security agencies, policing agencies, or whatever. And how is it that if it's supposed to be about Black Lives Matter and it's about all these people, why is it that we're separating ourselves? Because then, as the block bender had shown in his clipping and the breakdown of Queens on Fox Soul, why is it that the women at the top thinking that Black Lives Matter does not include them? It has to stay specifically say about women. Well, we're not talking about something about women. We're talking about Black people in its entirety. And Black people are made up of women and men. We don't have to say Black kids matter, Black girls matter, Black boys matter. If you are Black people and you are a Black culture, you are as one collective human being, which means you're made up of a woman gender and the male gender, and that's it. You don't have to dissect it from the woman and man and the children and all. It makes no sense to do that. But yet, even this website that's supposed to be for Black Lives Matter did the very same thing that the women did on Queens at Fox Soul. And this website has told you and contradicted itself that they initiated this organization from Trayvon Martin. But yet, they want to separate themselves from heterosexual Black men. Why you want heterosexual Black men, but yet you made sure you put in the LGBTQ. You put in transgender. You put in bisexual. You put in lesbians. It doesn't make any sense. However, I must admit that these women does not look feminine. In other words, I'm not saying anything about people's looks. They're brown-skinned, beautiful women. But I can tell that there is some alternative in them. These are not traditional women. These may be women that have a liking or a lifestyle that is not traditional. And so this is why that clause may have been put in there. So when I say it's a hidden agenda, so if you say you for Black men, Black Lives Matter, okay, and it's for systemic racism of Black people, why are we separating ourselves? And why does the LGBT belong in there? Why does that happen? Why does this keep happening? We need to ask ourselves these questions. Because I've often said in my commentary a year ago and a couple years ago as well, as I keep reiterating what I done said years ago, I know I keep repeating myself as a broken record, but I'm going to continue to do that. Because I want to continue to remind you throughout commentary. Because the simple fact is we are separating ourselves. So with the next time someone says Black Lives Matter, Black women matter, you know what? You tell them it is very important that we stick together as one culture. That means Black Lives Matter includes women, heterosexual men and heterosexual women, and our kids and everything that comes from one man, one woman. You understand what I'm saying? And it seems like they're trying to erase that. They're separating themselves from that. And I see a lot of these organizations and liberation movements doing this. And this is something to be worried about. As Blockbender mentioned in his segment, that this Black family is destroyed. But how can we unify? How can we show cultural obligation again? What happened? Why are we breaking away from our men? And we are accepting such an alternative life. What is the agenda here? Because see, to me, Black Lives Matter is not about systemic racism as they mentioned. It's about the LGBT. So it's Emily's list and everything, so on and so forth. Because if you are about a specific group of people, LGBT have their own. They can put that in their own stuff. They done had a whole lot of laws and everything passed. They got people, they got subject matters in foreign affairs. Well, we have a president trying to sanction Africa because of their beliefs. They are part of the protected class. Everywhere you go, you see the rainbow symbol. Everywhere you go in the housing community, we welcome LGBT. We welcome LGBT. We welcome LGBT. So they have their own organization. Why is it that organizations that's supposed to be for a specific group of people to fight for whatever it is that they need to fight for always have to include the LGBT? Every time we have black issues, it's always the LGBT got to be associated with it. Like I have actually mentioned this to the Black Bender. We had a discussion, and I said, Black, one of the things that I notice is that I know people who are black and I know people who are gay. And the first thing they say is that when it's somebody that's black and being killed by the police, a heterosexual black man, they always incorporate their gay life into being black. But they never incorporate their black life into being gay. In other words, they always say something like, well, I have it on both ends. Because being gay is just as worse as, they say that all the time. But yet they never say the opposite way. They never just speak on this heterosexual man who just being killed by the police just being him. They always got to incorporate their alternative life. But even if their brother is heterosexual and they can happen to them, they always got to incorporate their alternative life, as if this has happened with the BLM, Black Lives Matter, and with Emily's List. Black people need something strictly for black people. Your alternative life and how you live may be your way of living. That may be your lifestyle. And that's not the issue. The issue is strictly for black people. The real Black Lives Matter. No separation of the genders and kids and everything. Black Lives Matter. If you were born with black skin, this is the organization for you. This is what we're fighting for, our rights. Not your sexuality. Not anything else other than you being the color that you were born. Before you even knew you had a sexuality. And we're not separating from our own men. We need that organization. We need an organization that does not care about your sexuality, strictly on the color of your skin, and strictly coming up as a culture, and strictly uniting as just being black. Without having to incorporate other cultures in it, such as the LGBT, women, this and that, and separating all these different groups. So when you talk about Black Lives Matter, you mean to tell me he's just talking about the men? The men. No, he's talking about a whole group of people. And if the men are under attack by their own women who are falsely accusing them of rape and everything else on a regular basis, and they often sitting up there have to fight the police, it seems like the men need something for themselves. Seems like the women have a whole lot. They got Rain, Emily's List, Black Lives Matter, the Girl Scouts. They got a whole lot of things for the women. But yet they still want more for the women. Seems like the men are starting to lose out. So this is why I have muted this bullying, because the simple fact is that seems like that there is some crazy foolery to me. And any person that where Black Lives Matter need to understand and specify that when I say Black Lives Matter, I'm including me as a black woman. I don't need a shirt that say Black Women Matter. I'm one culture. It takes one woman and one man to birth us. And we are as one. Don't let them separate you guys. Like how them women did on Queens on Fox Soul. This is why they believe all this. This is why they pacify accusations and don't take accountability. Just as the block vendor mentioned, these are the women that will accuse you and take you. Those women at the top, he said it. And as a man, he sees it. And I see it even as a woman. I'm not going to sit up there and just side with women because I'm a woman. That don't make any sense. I side with the truth and common sense and logic. And that what they were talking was not common sense and was not logic. It was strictly foolery. Just like Lisa Ray said, yeah, black people, black lives, that's including black women. No, what you mean no? Yes. Who else is it going to include? A man don't birth himself. We birth. Who else is going? We birth the nation. Who else is it going to include? If we separate, what? If that was the case, we would just say black men matter. Come on, people, we can do better. Don't let them feed us BS. So for those of you who got Black Lives Matter signs in your window, in your yard, you may want to say Black Lives Matter include women and men. Put that there to let them know. Women and men. It includes women and men. One man, one woman. Period. Period. This is Spittin' Fire, and this is part 6 of the breakdown. Thank y'all for listening. Please like, share, and subscribe. And if you like the video, like to donate to the channel, you can Cash App Spittin' Fire. Okay? You can always click the icon that's on the back screen of my page. When you click the icon, it takes you straight to the page. It takes you to the Facebook page. It takes you to the Instagram. It takes you to the Cash App. Things of that nature. If you would like to sit up there and donate via PayPal, okay, you can also click the link in the description. In the description channel, there's many links that you can click that I often usually put there. If it's not there, it'll be pinned to the first thread, okay, in the comment section below. But either way it go, make sure y'all check out the description. Make sure y'all read the disclaimers and things. And if you donate to the channel, it's very much appreciated. And make sure you hit the like button. Okay, share these videos because sharing is definitely needed. And hit the notification bell so you know when I upload a new one. Thank y'all. This is Spittin' Fire, part 6 of the breakdown.